Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on your time zone. Thank you for attending LNG Trading and Risk Summit. Our topic is about LNG optimization, which basically means monetizing your operational flexibility. To start with, I would like to display the disclaimer for a short few seconds, such that you read it. Basically, you could not or should not take this as an advice of any format, but I hope you enjoy this talk. To start with, we would like to say what we mean by optimization, because optimization has many meanings and different meanings for different people. We could be talking about fleet allocation. We have a few ships, and certainly we want to maximize their utilization. Or maybe we have regasification capacity, and then we want to maximize our capacity. Or maybe we have obligations. Maybe we have to regasify 0.5 ton of LNG per year. In our definition, optimization is maximizing your P&L, but it's not just maximizing your PLN. It is about meeting your obligations and observing your constraints. For example, if you have a limited number of ships and you cannot fix more ships, that's a constraint. If you have to deliver 1 million tons of LNG per year, that's an obligation. So LNG optimization is increasing your bottom line, but at the same time, of course, making sure that your obligation and constraints are met. To go ahead, on the left-hand side panel, we have depicted the constraints. You may have contractual constraints in the green box, or market constraints, or operational ones. It could be even fleets. At the same time, these constraints are purview of different organizational groups. For example, contracts are usually dealt with the legal group or by the legal group. The market is usually trading, whereby your operations and fleet could be other departments. LNG optimization is about bringing all of this together. So the entire organization needs to come together, make sure all the facilities are available, and then we can optimize. I hope this picture depicts what LNG optimization requires. It's not only one group that would be in charge of such a complicated task, because it is a cross-organizational endeavor. To go ahead, our first message is LNG optimization is more than just a software. It's an organizational attempt to maximize your P&L. Let's have an example. Let's assume we are a producer of LNG, so we have supply at, say, Gladstone. We could think of taking our available LNG to different buyers across the world. As a seller, the question is, what is the best netback? Which means maybe I take it further afield, but then when I subtract all the costs, what would be the best netback that I get in Gladstone? A buyer's point of view could be different. If we say we are Japan, yes, Gladstone is an option, but so is, say, Nigeria, Qatar, or even US Gulf Coast going through the Panama Canal all the way to Japan. Hence, from a demand point of view, which is a buyer, the question is, what is the lowest DES? So optimization is actually putting the buyer's views and the seller's views together to come up with the best decision. So if I look at this from the Qatar point of view, I can go to Turkey, I can go to, say, Japan, I can even go to Spain, UK, or France. So from Qatar, all of these options are at least theoretically available to me. So that's a supply point of view. From the demand point of view, that I'm Japan, I could certainly get from Qatar, but I could also bring from US, Russia, Indonesia, even, of course, not likely Trinidad and Tobago. So if we put the previous view to this view, then we get the global view optimization. As you see, it's extremely complex. Almost everything is connected to everything else. Hence, to have an optimization, you need to draw where your world is. Doing this for the entire world would be extremely difficult. Hence, we need to limit ourselves to what's possible and within our reach. So that's the second message for LNG optimization. Now that we have done this, let's go ahead and look at an example of optimization first step, which is basically cargo valuation. First of all, of course, you need to capture your cargoes, which basically means, of course, you want to trace. Is it FOB? Is it DES? Am I buying? Am I selling? What is the quantity? What's my tolerance? What's my price? And those of us who are in LNG, we know that the quantity is never a very round number, because by the time that you actualize and you have regasification or you have boil off, the amounts could be actually part of what you think you loaded or you delivered. So the first step, we need to capture our trades. Hence, we need a system to capture our trades. Maybe it's your CTRM or ETRM or whatever system that you use. You do need to capture your trades to start with. When you capture your trades, then of course you need to know what your voyages are. Is this cargo supposed to go to Gladstone or load at Gladstone, go to Tokyo? Maybe it loads at Doha, goes to Isle of Grain. It could be a different cargo with the same load, with the same destination, but on a different vessel. At the same time, you need to know if your voyages are return or not, because if the voyage is not returned, maybe you can do a backhaul, which is part of the optimization. Hence, optimization not only is trade dependent, it is voyage dependent. For those who are technical, that makes it a path dependent problem. It's not only what I buy and what I sell, it depends how I get there. So we captured the trades, we now know what our voyages are. The next step, of course, we have to determine our quantities. Because when I start with a quantity and when I end up with it, it could be different. My FOB quantity is this much, 3.6 million, but by the time I deliver it is 3.5 million. Hence, I have used, in this sense, 63,000 MMBTUs of my cargo, which I cannot deliver. Hence, I cannot get paid for it. Hence, this is a cost. This shows that not only we need to have the voyages and the trades, and we need to have the quantities and the functional aspects of the voyage. Is it a gas mode, which means I'm burning LNG? Is it the dual mode, which I'm burning LNG and fuel oil? Or is it just fuel oil? Hence, optimization not only is path dependent, it is also multimodal, which makes it even more difficult. One of the things that optimizers do actually calculate if they should go gas mode, fuel mode, or dual mode, or maybe they go forward fuel mode and come back with gas mode with the residual. Remember that if you change your mode, it has significant downstream effects. For example, if you go on gas mode and come back on fuel mode, then you are not cool enough. You have to have time for cool downs. You have to have time for gas injection. So the mode can have significant effects downstream when you come back. As you see, it's getting more and more complicated. And at the end of it, when we do all of this, we need to know when we depart, when we arrive, when we come back, and of course, things in between. When is the NOR? When do the hose go off? In this case, of course, an extreme example because we arrive on 3rd of September, but we actually hose off at 6, so 3 days. Hence, LNG optimization not only was path dependent, mode dependent, it's multi-horizon, because when I come back is when I take my next cargo. So if I come back too late, my next cargo and the next cargo and the next cargo are going to get affected. So at this stage, we know that we have to capture the trades, the voyages, the quantities, and then we need to schedule. So we need this space-time schedule for our cargoes. And after all of that, now we can look at our P&L. In this example, my netback is 8.4. There is a mistake, my apologies. This is net forward. It has been mistakenly typed over because I had to pay for fuel. I have to pay for transport. Hence, if I want to sell this cargo DES, at least I have to sell it for 9.3 to become neutral, basically to break even. In this example is 8.6. So to do our P&L and actually later on to optimize it, we need to go through all of these steps. And of course, I need to know the fuel costs, and I need to know the transport costs. I need to know my charter costs. So what's the message here? The message here is that P&L optimization is path dependent, multimodal, multi-horizon. It depends on your schedule. So it's a very complicated endeavor across different parts of the organization. Now we can start with one example. Let's assume that I have a trade. Currently it's FOB. I am buying it. The tolerance is 5%, and the price is $8.40. One of the things that we do in optimization is to see if we can divert a cargo to get a better netback. So the diversion is about finding the best delivery location for our cargo. And best delivery location is not only about P&L. Not only we have to make a good P&L, we should be able to deliver, which means if we burn too much gas and go to UK, which is ridiculously too far away, we might not be able to satisfy the demand because we have burned some of the gas and we cannot match this cargo here that is needed. Or maybe I actually can match it, but by the time that I come back, then the next cargo will not be available. So the best delivery location is P&L, schedule, and everything together. That's called diversion. In our example, this is what we have done. Our original cargo is 8.4. This is our FOB. Doesn't matter where we go. The question is, if I want to take it to Qingdao or Busan or Kochi, how much is it going to cost me? And how much do I have to sell it to at least break even? For Tokyo, we have 60 cents of charter, 30 cents of fuel, and hence 90 cents of transport. So we need to sell at least at 9.30 cents. By the way, because we haven't diverted, we haven't incurred any penalties, we didn't have to make up for the cargo because some contracts, especially some of the SPAs, have provisions for making up a contract, which means if you divert it, you have to get one and actually replace it. And we don't have to do any P&L share. Now we are going to divert this to Qingdao. To take it to Qingdao, I still have 90 cents, but now I have to incur a penalty because my SPA stipulated that actually there is a penalty for this diversion. Hence, in Qingdao, it's a bit more expensive for me to break even. There is another problem with it. If I go to Tokyo, I will be back by 18th of September. If I go to Qingdao, I'll be back by 21st of September. So on top of it, I am actually incurring 3 days of extra charter, and the next cargo may get affected. And we can do Busan, and we can do other other locations. Hence, we not only look at our P&L, we look at our arrival and return. So that's one example of cargo diversion. Even at this level, you realize it's very complicated. For example, in this example that we took it to Busan, actually, we would make a little bit of a P&L, but our SPA stipulates that we have to share that P&L. So we have to share this P&L with the original owner that was supposed to receive this cargo. Hence, my net forward actually goes higher and higher in this case. So that's the first step of optimization. Where can I take my cargo to get a better netback? Or at least I need to know this table. Knowing this table, remember that needs your trade, your voyages, your charters, and all of that information that you need to have captured and of course optimize. If we go to the next example, the message. If we have to capture all of this, you need to have a good infrastructure, which means trades, voyages, vessels. Most of the organizations do have this, but that's a message that actually you need to optimize not only your cargoes, but your systems. Now let's have an example. In real life, I need to build my curves. If I don't have a curve, which is a pricing curve, nothing is going to happen. I have a screenshot of a curve, which is JKM forward. Thanks to courtesy of Inuit, they allowed me to use their system and trade. So we have a JKM. Now, when we work with JKM, which is the Asian marker for short-term cargoes, we need to build this JKM curve. In the beginning, it could be just Platts JKM, but later on, it could be other things like Tulit Prebon or some ICE JKM. So you need to have the ability to build your base curves. Graphically, then I can build my derived curves. For example, if I want to make a JCC, I know that JCC depends on the crude cargoes. And hence, the JCC depends on dated Brent, which depends on ICE Brent. And of course, it depends. This is the DFL. This is the DFL, and this is your ICE Brent. So not only you need to build your base curves, you need to be able to build your derived curves. Now that I have a JCC, I can value my long-term cargoes. And of course, I can take it to Incheon to see how much my LNG is going to be worth. So the message here is that build your base curves, build your derived curves. Hence, you need to have the ability of building curves and seeing how they work. Hopefully, you have a graphical representation, which is very helpful. And after that, now that you have your curves, you can build your FOB and DES. In this example, I had a JKM, which was a combination of half-monthly JKMs that is published by Platts. We know that these are short-term horizons. You can get them only for 2 months, 3 months. Then you get the brokers, and then you get ICE futures. From all of this, I can make my JKM. From my JKM, I can make my boil-off gas because I know how much I'm burning because I know which vessel I'm taking. But if I know the vessel, I know the higher rates. So I know my charter hire, hence I know my freight. Now that I have my boil-off gas, I have my freights, in this case from Ras Laffan to Japan, I can do my FOB Ras Laffan. So the building curves is not only for fun, it actually helps you to find your netbacks, your boil-offs, your charters. You need to have this ability to build these curves. Perfect. Now we have built all of our curves. Our curves now are allowing us to have our FOB and DES prices, but we want to apply these to our portfolio. Hence, we need to capture our portfolio. Am I buying? Am I selling? What kind of a Incoterm I have? Is it a spot? Is it a term contract? Is it ADP? What are the volumes? Where am I taking them? What's the load location? And of course, the currencies and all of that. So you need to capture your portfolio to be able to optimize your portfolio. At this stage, I would like to repeat the message of this presentation is that, of course, optimization is difficult. but it's not impossible. You need to have your infrastructure, you need to have your curves, your trades, you need to have the organizational, not only capacity individually, but coming together to provide the ability for you to optimize your cargoes. And then you can decide, do I divert? Where do I divert to? And then go to the next levels of optimization. How do I optimize my portfolio? Thank you very much for your time, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Any questions, of course, you can get in touch with us. Have a great day or evening.